Okay, CrossMag, it's me again. It's starting to make fun. So I'm working on the second video now. Actually, this is the third video, except for the second video. I forgot to press record, and for about 5 minutes until the camera goes on auto shut off, I've been talking to myself. But the funny thing is, you're still talking to yourself, even when it's on record, but I guess you have the hope that somebody on the other end will be looking soon. Um, I've watched a couple of your videos again, and you seem to say something about language. Well, it's interesting for me since I'm not speaking in my home language, and you sort of have the belief that a language, if the world had one language, there would be less misunderstanding and there wouldn't be no wars. I agree to the point that there probably were wars caused by misunderstandings, caused by the language barrier in the past. But if the world had one language, it wouldn't solve the war problem. There will still be wars. And language is neutral. Language is absolutely neutral. Language is like the is like Switzerland as a language, not as a nation. And it won't affect people if they if they would go to wars or not go to wars. I mean, look at the United States and the United Kingdom. They're one language culture, and they're basically war brothers. At least that's how I see it. Tony Blair is like, I don't know. He's so deep in GW's behind. Maybe because they have the same language and they share the same culture space, if you will. Although I know a lot of British people who really would be offended by me saying that they share the same culture space. What I'm saying is I don't think that would solve anything, and I also think that there is absolutely no will in the population of the world for everybody speaking one language. Actually, if you look at France made laws that actually forbid to use English terms in specific situations. They ordered, by law, McDonald's to use a French name for their restaurants. So McDonald's can't use McDonald's on their restaurants. And that kind of phenomenon is in a lot of countries. Actually, over here in Germany, they actually wanted to make a law that makes radio stations broadcast a percentage of non-English songs, because most songs are in English. That didn't work out. There was no majority for that law, and thank God for that. I think it's good that it didn't work out. But in France, it did work out. They have that law. So and so much percent, I think 40, I'm not sure, I think it's 40% has to be French in French radio stations, what they broadcast. And basically what I'm saying is people don't want to give up their culture, because I think culture and language, they are interdependable. Your culture is influenced by your language, and vice versa. So basically, you can't really, you won't have a world of willing people to have just one language. Therefore, that's a dream that won't happen. And you said yourself, if you just believe in something strong enough, you can do it. And if the collective consciousness believes in that, it will change the world. But that belief in that exactly does not exist. Sure, English is a super language to get around the world, and I think everybody accepts that. You need it for your job, maybe, or if, as a tourist, and English is the interconnectivity language, I would say. But that's as far as it goes. People do not want to give up their local languages, and that will never happen. They will just use English as a second language. Now, the way I think we should go is the other way. Now, this might sound totally geeky to you. I don't know, but you know Star Trek, the universal communicator. Well, and it basically translates what you say in your voice to your counterpart, and that's something I think is probably possible if you invest enough effort, enough money, and enough time in the development of such technologies. It'll work out, maybe 10, maybe 20 years, but I personally work on the field of IT tech, and I think that is basically theoretically possible. It just has to be done, and it'll take a lot of research, but that technology might in 20 years be so common like a cell phone. Or it probably, and that would be like ingenious, just integrate the function in the cell phone. And if that happens, that system would basically translate your local language into the other local language, not in English, in the other local language of your counterpart in your own voice, and he wouldn't or she wouldn't know a difference, or wouldn't hear the difference. I think technology can achieve that, and I think that is the way to go, because everybody could keep their local cultures, their local languages, and still live in a world where they are capable to communicate with anybody and well, this is cool. The camera follows me. I didn't know it can do that. Or is that just my imagination? No, it's actually following me. That's sorry, I just got this camera and I keep finding new features. Where was I? Ooh, they could be understood in their language, and they can communicate in any language. I think it's a compromise that we should work on. That the technology firms of the world should work on, or the governments should invest in it. And indeed, that would solve a lot of problems. I think it would solve a lot of miscommunication. It would solve, although I'm not saying like Google Translate. You know, if that's the quality of translation, then basically we will be in hundreds of wars in 2 years thanks to miscommunication. That's not what I mean. Okay. But basically, I think that's the way to go, and it would indeed, I agree with you, it would solve a lot of problems, it would prevent misunderstanding, maybe it would even prevent a couple of wars. But on the global scale, I think wars are not a product of miscommunication or just not knowing the correct language. Basically, I think the whole war in Iraq is more or less politically and economically motivated. It doesn't matter what language would be spoken or what culture was coming. If the situation was the same in other countries, they were probably going to war too. Look at Russia. Nobody talks about what they're doing down there in Chechnya. But basically, the whole Chechnya deal was about not having oil, but having the space to lay pipelines to transport oil from their region to others. Forget the language. It was pure money involved and power, because when you deliver half of the world with oil, of course you don't only earn a lot of money for the oil. You have power over those people that are dependent of you. So I think that's more like the problem when it comes to these specific wars.